Okay. Good morning, Chavre. Today is the second day of Sivan, and we're going to start the class with counting the Omer. Today is the 45th day of the Omer. Let's say together: Hayoim, Chamisha, Barboim, Yoim, Shehem, Shisha, Shavuos, Ushloisha, Yomim, La Omer. Today is 45 days, which is 6 weeks and 3 days of the Omer. Today's Thursday morning, the 2nd of Sivan. We are on page 73 in the Chayenu, and we continue with the theme of where the Shechina resides in this world. During the first Beis Hamikdash, the first holy temple, the Shechina was in the Ark, in the Aron, in the Luchais, in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Beis Hamikdash. What about the second Beis Hamikdash? Where did the main Shechina reside? So in today's lesson, in the second Beis Hamikdash, with no luchos, the Shechina resided in a lower form relative to the world level. Therefore, post Beis Hamikdash, it is manifest through the study of halacha and performance of its mitzvahs. So yesterday we talked about the first Beis Hamikdash and in our lives. And today, did you guys know this? In the second Beis Hamikdash, in which the Aron and the Luchais, the tablets and the Ark, did not rest, these being among the 5 things found in the first Beis Hamikdash, and they were lacking in the second. Our rabbis of blessed memory said that the Shechina did not abide there. It doesn't mean that it didn't abide there, but it didn't abide on the level that it was in the first Beis Hamikdash. It was this level of Shechina that did not abide in the second temple, but only a far lesser level than was the first time around. Malchus Tatzilus, but Malchus Debria, Vidibria, the Malchus the Yitzira, the Hecho Kachigadashim, Tasia. In the second Beis Hamikdash, the Shechina rested according to the order of gradual descent of Malchus of Atzilus vested in Malchus of Bria, and the latter in Malchus of Yitzira, and the latter in the shrine. I don't like to use that word. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Holy of Holies of Asiya, that being the Chachma bin Adas of Asiya. The Kodesh HaKadoshim of Asiya, Hayim Islavish, the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Beis Hamikdash Shalamata. The Holy of Holies of Asiya in this world was clothed in the Holy of Holies of the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Beis Hamikdash, the second Holy Beis Hamikdash. And it rests, and in it rested the Shechina, the Malchus of Yitzira, which was clothed in the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Asiya. So it's interesting that there is the resting place of the Shechina within each world, which is in the Holy of Holies of that particular world, including this world. And it says, and from there it rested in the Holy of Holies in the Beis Hamikdash. And therefore, because the Shechina resided in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, no man was ever permitted to enter there, except one exception: Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, of which, of course, the Holy of Holies was part of, and Hashem rests in the Holy of Holies of Torah and of mitzvahs, as mentioned earlier. Shakadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, has put the 4 cubits of halacha alone as the divine resting place. So Torah is the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim that connects Hashem to the world, so that HaKadosh, the illumination of the Shechina, which is holy, meaning separate and apart from the world, should become Baruch, from the Hebrew word meaning to draw down into the world. So we say, Baruch Ata, we're drawing godliness down into our lives, into the world. Even if one Jew sits and engages in Torah study, the Shechina is with him. The Isa bebracha is perek kuf mem aleph, peru Shechina imay. As it says in the first chapter of Brachas, 8a, the phrase, the Shechina is with him, I'm sorry, that's 6a, means that although he's a being of this material world, the Shechina is nevertheless with him. The level of Shechina that's with him, now I feel even better about saying the bracha before the Memorial Day speech. You say the Baruch Atah, you bring Hashem down, and then you learn Torah, then you do whatever you have to do. The level of Shechina that's with him is Kederech, Ishtalshus, V'Slapshus, Malchus Tatzilus, but Malchus Bri Yitzir Vasiyah. In order of the gradual descent and investment of Malchus of Atzilus in Malchus of Bria and Yitzir and Asiyah. Again, this is just the light of Hashem, the Shechina coming down through all the different levels. And it is thus, when it comes down through all these different worlds, inferior to the indwelling of the Shechina in the second Beis Hamikdash. An indwelling that did not require the vestment of Malchus of Asiyah. And it differs from the drawing down of the Shechina in the world in general, in which case the identical progressive descent occurs in that the Shechina which resides in the world passes through the additional garments of Klippas Neiga, while Torah and mitzvahs do not. Klippas Neiga has to be elevated. Sometimes it can be, sometimes it cannot be. When it comes to Torah mitzvahs, that's not something that needs a garment. Torah mitzvahs is where Hashem dwells now since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. May it be rebuilt b'meira b'yameinu. The reason that it must go through the Malchus of Atzilu, through Malchus of Asiyah, is that the overwhelming majority of the mitzvahs of the Torah involve physical action. Like we just did, we put on tefillin. I went for blood work, and I rolled up my sleeve. Take a look, there's marks on your arm from the tefillin. So the nurse looks at my arm, she goes, "Are you in dope bag?" Is that? I've never seen anything like that before. Is that? You like that, Steve? It's across the hall, Doctor. Tuesdays and Wednesdays he has the lab course, so they set me up for blood work. I come in over there, and she's looking at my arm, and you could just see the look on her face, like she didn't know how to register it. Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's we put out for prayers and whatever. She's like, okay, whatever. The mitzvahs that we do from the Torah, many of them, most of them are action-based mitzvahs. Even if it's verbalizing Torah, it's an action with your lips and mouth, as we've said many times. By the way, even when you think something, you think it's not physical, but there's all sorts of things happening within your brain that also is in some way an action. So even though these mitzvahs involve thought, seeking to grasp the concept in one's study and to experience the kavanah of the Shema and the prayers as such, they are not technically bound with action. Okay, along the hirur lav kidibur dami. The Kaimalon, the Kimas Svasav Havi Maisa. It's ruled that meditation has not the validity of speech, and one does not fulfill one's obligation by meditation alone. Even when his manner of meditation is so close to speech, as in the case when one thinks about the way he will say a certain word, which is called hirhur, until he says the words with his lips. Shh, guys. Shh. Please. Until he says the word with his lips, it's not an action yet. Moreover, it's been ruled that the motion of the lips when one's speaking is considered an action, in which case all these mitzvahs involve a form of action. Tatab explains the following question. It still remains to be understood why specifically the 4 cubits of halacha take the place of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Why? Why should this be not so when a Jew studies a subject in Torah which is not halacha? For there too the Shechina is there. Shechina is within Torah. Why are we talking specifically about halacha that takes the place of the Holy of Holies. The Tayag Mitzvah Torah, Im Sheva Mitzvah Rabbanon, V'Gematria Keser. The 613 commandments of the Torah, together with the 7 additional commandments of our rabbis, combined to total the numerical value of Keser, which is crown, which is the supernal will of Hashem. Hamelubash b'chachmasi isbarik, which is clothed in his wisdom. Thus, in addition to the fact that Torah is God's wisdom, which in its descent in the downward progression of worlds becomes the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim for the Shechina. But there's an additional quality of its being the supernal will, which is even loftier than wisdom. This is equally found in halacha and the mitzvahs as they are expressed, as they are expressions of the supernal will. They, God's will and wisdom, are united with the light of Ein Sof in perfect union. Further to an earlier statement that Torah derives from supernal wisdom, the Alter Rebbe will now say that the oral law also emanates from that wisdom. Not that that's a chiddush, but he's just adding. Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz, Torah shebal pen denafka b'chachma elah kameshikasu b'zayra daba yasad b'irato. Hashem founded the earth with wisdom. This refers to Torah shebal pen, the oral law that is derived from Hashem's supernal wisdom, as written in the Zohar. The Kabbalah says, the father Chachma begat the daughter, meaning Malchus, the oral law, as it is written, Malchus, the mouth, which we call the oral law. So the takeaway for today. In the second Beis HaMikdash, the tablets, the luchos, were not present. But the Kodesh HaKadoshim, nevertheless, represented that dwelling place. That's where Hashem dwelled in the Holy of Holies, despite the fact that there was no luchos and there was no Aron there. Hashem's energy is a more, in the second temple, in the second Beis HaMikdash, even though the luchos weren't present, but the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, represented the dwelling place for Hashem's energy in a more condensed manner. Now that there's no Beis HaMikdash, and there's currently no Kodesh HaKadoshim, at least in a physical sense, sages teach that Hashem is found in your verbal Torah. And that's why it's so important that when we learn Torah, we verbalize it and we say it. Okay, Chavra, so go learn some extra Torah. As we mentioned yesterday, even worse than doing an Avera, could you imagine, is missing an opportunity to learn Torah. Chavra. All right, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.